be here, to be invited this evening. Firstly, I do apologise for my voice. I'm slightly croaky. I've just had a massive cold. So if I croak and spot, I hope you'll just ignore that. But looking around the room, I can see that I'm in some very esteemed model railway company. I see that many of you have probably been involved in the model railway hobby for many years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, half a century. Well, not quite 50 years for me, more like 36 months, that is. I'm a relative newbie. Don't hold that against me. But yes, as a relative newbie, you may be wondering what I have to say as a newbie. You may be wondering whose bright idea was it to invite me here to talk to all these model railway aficionados when I'm just a complete beginner. Well, I'm not going to name any names, but it's Peter Borcherds. Sitting over, have a word. But as Peter said, my name is Dawn Quest, and I have Brief Encounter. It's entirely monochrome, 32 shades of grey at last count, and I launched it. It made its debut in the Woolwich Show December last year. Since then, I've taken it around the country, and it's very unusual. Gets a lot of comments, a lot of questions. One of the biggest questions I get asked is your name really Dawn Quest? And I say, yes it is, although I am aware it makes me sound like I'm a character out of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So there you go. But yes, I have been exhibiting it around the country, and I'm now starting on my next layout, which is based on the Lady Killers, not the Lady Killers. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll also talk a little bit more about being a newbie, and of course, female in what is, let's face it, quite a male-dominated hobby. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But, you know, model railways is my hobby. I do have a job. I'm a BBC TV news producer. I produce the business news. And for my day job, as you can imagine, it's quite stressful. Lots of deadlines, lots of pressure. I write the scripts, I make films, I produce the output. I go into the gallery, that dark room with all the screens, and I sit there and yelling at people, and I get to arrange interviews with some of the big names in the business world. I decided, you know, I needed a hobby that was relaxing, that helped me stress and de-stress, because it is a very stressful job. So I decided to create a YouTube channel about modern railways, and I find myself writing scripts, creating videos, interviewing the big names in the hobby. Whatever the model railway quest term for a busman's holiday, that's it. So, but sometimes my two worlds do collide. The other week, for Talking Business on the BBC, I found myself arranging interviews with the CEO of Lego, Niels Christensen, the president of Mattel, Barbie. Well, that's not the president of Mattel, Steve Todsky. And also the CEO of Build-A-Bear Workshop, Sharon John Price. That very same evening, I was interviewing a group of 8 to 12-year-olds, junior Model Railway Club members, and boy were they tough. They knew their stuff and they took no prisoners. Give me the president of a global toy company any day of the week. Easy peasy. So as I said, relative newcomer, I've had a brief encounter, I've been taking it around the country, and the other question I get asked is, how did you get involved in model railways? You know, being a newbie, being a female, how on earth did this all start? Excuse me. Well, my background isn't trains, you may be surprised to know. I didn't get a train set when I was 5 years old waiting under the Christmas tree. I did get a paint set, and painting and art has been a passion of mine, and I've loved painting. Gradually I took on more crafts, more arts and crafts, and started getting involved in dolls' houses, building miniature dolls' houses. And then a friend of mine asked me to paint figures on his 00 layout. I went, ooh. And did that. I did the painting on the figures. And then I started to look around his layout and thought, I fancy a bit of building. I could build that little house, and I'd like to make some trees. And very soon I started to get more involved, and then I got a bit more adventurous, and I thought I can do some wiring, I'll do some electronics. And then I had this really great idea, why not build an exhibition layout? And there you go, that's how it all started. And how I got the idea for Brief Encounter, I was sitting around TV, watching TV, and I saw Brief Encounter and thought, what a great story. Two lovers a railway station, some great locos. I thought that would be perfect for an exhibition layout. And then I thought, well, why not make it in black and white? Because as a newbie, the sky's the limit. I don't have that limitation. I don't have a set of rules that says you can't do this, you can't do that. I just thought, why not? Let's just go for it. And that's how Brief Encounter was born. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But as a beginner, there was so much to learn. And one of the first things I had to get my head around was gauges. What's a gauge, you know? But luckily I had some railway modeler friends, and they said, well, Dawn, you know, you're building an exhibition layout, try something a little bit different, a bit out there, a bit adventurous. And they showed me a layout. They said, this is EM gauge. I went, Then they showed me something larger. I went, oh. They said, that's right. That's right, I said. G. Yeah, right again. And then they showed me some 4mm, and I went, ooh, double O. That's my gauge. So that's how I decided on double O gauge for Brief Encounter. So, the other thing they did warn me about, they said, Dawn, you have to be careful of these people, they're called rivet counters. It's you, is it? Rivet counters, who are these people? Who are these people? They said, passionate about model railways. They love the model railways, meticulous about detail, down to the last roof tile, the last piece of weathering on the loco. Please, 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 Dawn, do not fall foul of these people. I said, okay, I got a little bit scared. But then I started looking around some layouts at exhibitions, and I thought, oh, brilliant magazine, very, very realistic, uber realistic. Look at those buildings, every roof tile meticulous. And those weathered locos, I mean, a little bit small in my opinion, not very realistic, but hey, they look pretty good to me. But then, as a newbie, being from outside the hobby, there was one thing everybody just did completely wrong. A complete clanger. I thought, why can't everybody see it? All the people are static. And I thought, there's that workman there, he's still leaning on his shovel. I've been here 20 minutes, he hasn't done a shred of work. The classic mum running for the train with her child. I started trying to cross, I'd be very concerned. 30 minutes standing in that position. And then of course, you know, according to that GWR branch line, driverless cars were a thing in the 1930s, so Elon Musk was pretty big worried. So I just thought, you know, how realistic is realistic? How far should we actually get? And that's what convinced me to do this next thing. A little tip for anybody, if you want to not fall foul of the rivet counters, do what I do and base your layouts on a film. Because the difference between fact and fiction, the line is very, very blurred. You can have fact, you can have fiction, you can mix it all up. And that's exactly what I've done with Brief Encounter. And Brief Encounter itself, I have had my share of rivet counters come and stand at the layout and say, I think you'll find, young lady, that that Class A4 with that rank of coaches isn't appropriate for this time of day. Not very realistic. And I said, well, actually, my whole layout's black and white, nothing realistic about it, really. Same with the lady killers. When you look at the film, and I've done a lot of research into how the lady killers was filmed, lots of blurring between fact and fiction. But getting back to Brief Encounter, being black and white, I did a lot of research about monochrome, and I learned lots of interesting things about how black and white film was filmed. So for example, there were whole wardrobe departments who were designed to make sure black and white actually looked black and white. So the ladies couldn't wear red lipstick, they used to have to wear green lipstick. Red lipstick looks completely black on black and white film. In 1955, the first Superman film, he had his red and blue outfit on. It all looked completely the same shade of grey. So they had to make a black and white Superman outfit for the 1955 version of Superman. You can Google it, it's fascinating. Whole, rabbit hole you can go down. Also, I learned that back in the day of black and white photography of the old steam locos, they used to paint them all grey to take photographs of them and then repaint them in their liveries. So lots of fascinating facts. With the lady killers itself, now I don't know how many people have watch the film, but it's about a little old lady and 5 criminals who decide to rent her home, posing as a string quintet as they plan a robbery of a security van coming out of King's Cross Station. And rather unwittingly or not, this little old lady foils them, and they all end up coming to some sorry demises. But I've done a lot of research around the area of Copenhagen Tunnel, King's Cross, and by the way, the Model Railway Club has the 40th anniversary of Copenhagen Fields on coming up in a weekend's time, November 2nd, 3rd. Do pop along, it's a fantastic layout if you haven't seen it, and truly, truly inspirational. But if you know the scene where Alec Guinness appears at Mrs. Wilberforce's door, with that very sinister smile, behind him is St Pancras. Now, where Mrs. Wilberforce's house is based, above Copenhagen tunnels, that would mean that the trains ran south to Brighton and not north, so completely wrong. Lots of different locations were used for the filming work, which weren't actually the locations in real life. So for my layout, I feel like I've got complete carte blanche. I can do what I want. I can put Copenhagen Fields there, Mrs. Wilberforce's house there, and nobody can tell me any different. So that's all good for me. So that's the privilege of being a newbie. I don't have these limitations that say, you can't do this, you can't do that. And what I'm really, really passionate about, and the reason I started the YouTube channel was, one, because I've fallen in love with the model railway hobby, truly. I'm learning a lot about the hobby and a lot about locos. But 2, I wanted to be able to share what I'm learning with other people who may also be starting. Now, I know that the model railway hobby I've learned is divided into people who love the railway scenery, the modelling, and there are people who love the locos. And locos perhaps are not my forte. I came from the arts and crafts, and it's taken me this long to learn the difference between an Intercity 125 and an HST. Just about that. And if you understand that punchline, you'll know that locos aren't my forte. I mean, the only way I can describe my favourite loco at the moment is it's blue, it's a steam train, broke some world record and has a front like that. I think what's its name? Oh yeah, Flying Scotsman, that's the one. So, but I am learning, and through the channel I've met some incredible people. I've been visiting lots of heritage railways, Spark Valley, Bluebell, Brother Valley, and 2874 Trust, and just learning about locos and just fascinating journey, these magnificent beasts. It's been a real, real privilege. But through my channel, I've been able to, with Grumpy Cameraman, who some of you may know, he's making a rare public appearance today. We do pop into model railway clubs up and down the country. Sometimes we just drop in unannounced, because I'm really, really passionate about clubs and societies like the NMRA. I think clubs are incredibly important because I think the social connection is vital for our mental and physical health. I see people really feeling needed and belonging to clubs, and I think they're a vital part of the hobby. So I drop in and I talk to chairmen and chair people, and I talk to members and see the challenges that they're facing. And what I've learned over the past 12 months, because I launched the channel just a year ago, which seems impossible. We're now at 11,000 subscribers and 1 million views, which has been a huge privilege. What I'm hearing from model railway clubs is that they're facing very, very challenging times. And of course, at the start of the year, we had that wonderful headline, didn't we? The model railway hobby is dying. Well, we all know it isn't. We know it isn't. But model railway clubs tell me that they're finding it difficult to attract new members. And when I look at the average model railway club, I don't see many young people, and I don't see many women. And so I'm quite passionate about supporting new members and new members into the hobby. And one thing I've really started to notice over the last few months is more young people are getting into the hobby and staying in the hobby. So from 5-year-olds through to teens, through to 20-year-olds and above. And what I do hear from model railway clubs is young people aren't interested. They're not interested in model railway trains. Well, I would beg to differ. They are absolutely interested in model railways, but you have to meet them where they are. And where they are is tech and phones and tablets. And so DCC is perfect for them. They love getting involved in the tech side of it. And the other thing is, they want to feel needed and respected. They want to be talked to. So the clubs I'm seeing that are doing wonders with young people are the ones that let them get their hands on the layouts and play with the layouts and build stuff and construct layouts of them by themselves. The other thing that I'm starting to see more of are female railway modellers. They've always been there. But what I've noticed that shows when I talk to couples behind layouts, I'll talk to the couple and I'll speak to the lady and I say, you know, is this your layout? And she'll say, oh no, I just built the houses, or I just did the trees. What I'd love to see is women saying, I did the houses, I did the trees, I'm a railway modeller, not I just did this, I just did that. Because building the layout, building the scenery is the layout. It's half of the layout, you know. They all work together. So I'm starting to see more women coming forward and being more visible. Of course, we have some fantastic women who've led the way. Carol Flavin, who was at the Great Model Railway Challenge. Maggie Gravett, an exceptional layout builder. We've had Anna Bass. And some of you may know that in the 1970s, there was a lady called Vivian Thompson who built the Eastbourne Model Railway now. Now, back in the 70s, a revolutionary woman, because not only was it unusual for a woman to have a hobby outside of kids and marriage and so on, but to be in model railways. She literally paved the way, and she went on to then build Eridge, I think it was her next one, and was, you know, still going strong and just an inspiration to us all. So it's great to see more women, and it was fantastic to see Debbie McMillan here today with Keynes Cove. I have a women's Facebook group, she belongs to that, and I think we can all agree that the standard of her layout was absolutely exceptional. You know, hats off to Debbie, I was really, really blown away. So that's kind of what I'm about. I'm building my own layouts, I've got my YouTube channel, trying to foster more new members into the hobby so that we can keep it alive. Everybody who's in a model railway club has so much experience and wisdom to share with new members. And if you'd like my perspective as a new person in the hobby, it's great to feel welcome. We don't know what we don't know. Sometimes we feel a bit daunted. We might worry about looking stupid for asking questions. So if we can all bear that in mind, when we get new members through the door, when we get new people into our societies, make them feel wanted. Imagine you're new. What would you like to see? How would you like to feel if you stepped into a new place? But I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to the NMRA for inviting me. Amazing job that Gordy, as the president, is doing. I know exciting things happening, new exciting things to come. Very proud to be part of your society, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future. Thank you also to Peter, who's worked incredibly hard to help and market this whole event. So thank you to you both. Been a real privilege. Thank you so much.